Hello and welcome to today's lesson. Today we're going to look at the present simple tense. And with the present simple tense, we have 5 outcomes that we want to achieve. Okay. The first outcome is we're going to look to define the present simple tense. What does it mean? Number 2, we're going to look at a list of third-person singular spelling rules in the present simple sentences and practice also the pronunciation based on those spellings. Okay. Outcome number 3 is we're going to look to revise and practice the affirmative, negative and interrogative structures for present simple tense. So we're going to look at how we can get the structure of the sentences together. Okay. And number 4, we're going to look to identify the uses of the present simple tense. Okay. And then finally, number 5, we're going to look at constructing sentences in the present simple tense with time expressions and frequency adverbs, looking at the order of the sentences to make sure that when we do put a frequency adverb into a sentence, it is in the correct word order. Okay. Now, for each lesson, what we're going to do is we're going to split the outcomes so that we can better have a lesson shorter and clearer. Okay, so what we're going to do is for today's lesson, we're going to look at outcome 1 and 2. And so remember, outcome 1, we're going to define the present simple tense. So we're going to find out what does it actually mean. Okay, and then for number 2, the outcome is we're going to list the third person singular spelling rules in the present simple sentences and practice the pronunciation as well. Okay, so today's lesson is outcome 1 and outcome 2. Lesson 2 on present simple is going to be outcome 3, and then the third lesson is going to be outcome 4 and outcome 5. Today's lesson is outcome 1 and outcome 2. Okay, so let's get started. So the first question is, what is the present simple tense? I'd like you to just pause the video and think about what do you think is the present simple tense. Okay, so let's just check. So we have a definition here of the simple present tense. Just to remind you that sometimes we can say simple present tense, and sometimes you will hear present simple tense. They mean exactly the same thing, and people use them interchangeably. They sometimes say one or sometimes they say the other, but they mean the same thing. Okay, so the simple present tense, we use a verb to tell about things that are happening continually in the present. Okay, so this means that the simple present tense or present simple tense is used to refer to actions and conditions that are happening all the time. So there's something regular about these. Okay, and they can exist now, and they can maybe continue to exist in the future as well. And as the lessons go along, you will see we will look at lots of examples of how we would use this. Okay, so looking at the structure of the sentence, if we just look to begin with, and again we'll carry on the sentences in the other outcomes, the present simple tense affirmative sentence. So this is a positive sentence. So you have your subject. The subject could be in this case on the diagram here. You can see that it's a pronoun, but it could be that you could use a person's name here as well. Okay, so it could be a proper noun, it could be a common noun as well. Okay, so the subject here, we're using pronouns just to show that we're trying to establish the third person singular. Okay, and what does this actually mean? We'll go into detail about this. Okay, so on the side we can see singular and we can see plural. Okay, so we're looking at singular, and then we've got subject at the top. So we've got a singular subject, I am singular. You, one person, is again singular. He, she, it is not I and is not you, is a third person singular. Okay, and this is very important when we're thinking about the present simple tense, because if we then go to the next word, which is the infinitive verb, we can see that where we have the third person singular, the verb has changed. It's gone from work to works, okay, with an S at the end. But we're going to go into spelling rules, because it's not always just an S at the end. Sometimes it's an ES and sometimes it's an IES. But we'll have a look at the spelling rules to follow. Okay, so remember that if it's third person singular, the verb changes to an S. Okay, at the bottom we've got some plural. Okay, so we is plural, you meaning a group, plural, and they, okay, plural. Again, the verb doesn't change with plural subjects. Okay, let's move on. So now we're going to look at some spelling rules of the third person singular. Okay, so the first rule in general, when we have a verb, to the base verb we normally add an S. Okay, and that's a general rule. So for example, we've got the verb here, read. If it's third person, for example, he, then we add an S. He reads his newspaper every day. Okay, so that's one rule. Let's have a look at the second rule. So the second rule is when we have a verb that ends with these letters, which are double S, X, CH, SH, or O, then we add an ES to the third person singular. Okay, you can see that if you've already got a double S and then you add another S on, in the case of rule number 1, then that's going to be 3 S's. So, you know, it doesn't work like that. Okay, so it wouldn't make any sense. Okay, so let's have a look at some examples. So here you've got some examples. Words that do end with double S is dress. A verb that ends with an X is fix. There may be others as well. And CH, watch. SH, wash. And then O, go. Okay, and then we're going to look at how these would then sort of look with the ES's at the end. Okay, so dress becomes dresses, fix becomes fixes, watch becomes watches, wash washes, and go goes. Okay, right. The third rule is when the verb ends in a consonant and plus a Y, then we change the Y, or we remove the Y, and then we add an I and then add ES. Okay, so remember, consonant plus Y, we remove the Y, add an I, and then ES. So we've got some examples here. So we've got the verb cry that ends with a Y. Before the Y we have the R, which is a consonant. So we remove the Y, add an I, and then ES. Okay, so the sound of the Y and the I are so close that it needs to be removed, you know, to get the right effect of the word. Okay, so cry becomes cries. Fly, again ending with a Y, before the Y is an L, which is a consonant, so we remove the Y, add an I and ES. And then the last example here is we've got the verb terrify, and ending in a Y. Before the Y we have an F, so we remove the Y, put an I and then ES. I think the I before the F has been highlighted, but that's not got any significance. Okay, so that was some spelling rules, and we're going to look at them in a little bit more detail in the next slide. Okay, so in general, remember, we just add an S. Okay, so we've got some verbs here. We've got eat becomes eats, swim becomes swims, play becomes plays. Now this is an important one, because with this verb is ending with a Y. Okay, but before the Y you have a vowel. Okay, so in this case we don't need to remove the Y as we did in the third rule. We just add an S. Okay, and I've seen many students make this mistake where they get confused with the rule, where they see a verb ending with a Y and they have to add an S at the end. They think that they need to then remove the Y, add an I and ES. Okay, but that's not the case, because before the Y it's not a consonant, it's a vowel. So the Y stays and we just add an S at the end. Okay, and some more sort of examples for you to have a look at there as well. Okay, so remember the second rule is where the verb is ending with double S, X, CH, SH or O, we're adding an ES, and you've got some examples here as well. Okay, and we're going to look in you're going to look at the pronunciation of these as well, because sometimes it can be a little bit difficult to pronounce. They have different sounds, the way that we pronounce these. Okay, so and the last rule is verbs ending in a consonant plus Y. Remember, we remove the Y and then we add the ES. Okay, and again you've got some examples there for you, and if you want to pause the video and have a look and maybe practice some of these, that'll be great. Okay, now one important note is that there are two very common irregular verbs that do not follow the rules above, and although their third person singular present forms to end in an S. For example, you've got the verb to be, that becomes is. Okay, and have becomes has. Okay, so these are irregular verbs. Okay, these are common irregular verbs, especially for the third person singular. Okay, okay, so your turn now. Okay, so what we're going to do is, there's an exercise here for you. Let's have a look. So you've got the word marry. Okay, and with marry, what do you need to do for the spelling? Let's pause the video and have a think. Okay, so we check the answer. Okay, so how many of you got this right? Well done if you did. Yeah, so here you've got the verb marry, which ends with a Y. Before the Y you have a consonant, so the rule is that we remove the Y, we add an I and then ES. Okay, second verb, sneeze. Okay, pause the video and write down your answer. Okay, so number 2, sneezes. So here, remember, if it's ending with a Z, we add an ES. Okay, next word, annoy. Pause the video and write down your answer. Okay, so the answer, annoys. So this is similar to what we were looking at earlier with play and plays. This verb is ending with a Y, but before the Y we have a vowel. So in this case we do not need to remove the Y. The Y stays, we just add an S at the end. Okay, next word, deny. Okay, pause your video, think about your answer. Okay, shall we now check the answer? So, deny. Okay, so remember, it's ending in a Y. Before the Y, we have a consonant, N. So we remove the Y, add an I, and then ES. Okay, next word, kiss. Pause the video. Okay, let's check the answer. Okay, so double S, the rule, remember to add ES. Okay, well done. Okay, push, 6. Okay, let's check the answer. Okay, double, so you've got SH, ending in SH, we add ES. Okay, the last one here, glorify. Okay, pause the video. Let's check the answer. Okay, so you've got Y. Before the Y, you have a consonant. So we remove the Y, add an I, and then ES. I think there's a few more letters highlighted there. Okay, so your turn now. What I'd like you to do is have a look at these sentences, and I'd like you to complete them. You have the present simple sentences here, but you have the verb in the brackets. I want you to read the sentence and decide, is it third person singular, or do you just need to keep the verb as it is? Okay, just pause the video and write down your answers. Okay, so let's check the answers. So for number 1, what was the answer? So we've got the verb study and we've got the subject I. So I study English every day. We've not put an S here or taken the Y away to put IES in with the rules, because I is not third person singular. Okay. Number 2, we've got the verb teach. The subject is we. Let's check the answer. So we is not third person singular, so teach remains in its infinitive form. Okay. So number 3, we've got the verb pay, and then we've got the subject he. Let's check the answer. So in this case, because it's third person singular, we would have to add an S at the end. Now, ends with a Y. Remember the rules. Before the Y, we have a vowel, not a consonant. So we just add an S to the end. Number 4, we've got the verb fly, and the subject is Danielle. Daniela. Okay, check. Okay, so in this case, it's third person singular. Remember, we said we could have names of people as well, single names. So that's third person singular. and the here fly is ending with a Y, but before the Y we have the L, which is a consonant, so we have to remove the Y, add an I, and then ES. Okay, so number 5, she is the subject and do is the verb. So, and we've got she never, so here we've got a frequency adverb which we will be looking at in upcoming lessons. So what is the verb here? What do we do with the verb here? Okay, good. So that's does. Okay, she never does her homework. Okay, do becomes does, ends with an O, so we have to add an ES. Number 6, so this girl is the subject. We've got the frequency adverb always. So this girl, third person singular. Okay, and push is the verb. What do we do with this? I was thinking about spelling rules. Okay, well done. It's got the ES at the end. Okay, so number 7, the subject, they, the verb want. Okay, what do we do with this? Okay, well done, no changes, yeah? So, they want to do something special tonight, okay? Fine. Next one, number 8, the subject is David. Okay, David never, which means frequency adverb there. David, third person singular. And the verb mix, ending with an X. So, well done. So David never mixes eggs and vinegar together. Okay. So number 9, the room. Okay. And then we've got the verb to be. And remember we talked about irregular, 2 common irregular verbs. So what do we do with this sentence? So the room, again, is the singular, the room. Okay, so good, the room is on fire, okay? And the last one, I, is the subject, I usually, and then help is the verb. What do we do with this? Okay, so no third person singular here, so that's just help. It stays in its infinitive form. So this exercise has been taken by live worksheets, and you can go onto live worksheets and you can look at other exercises with present simple tense as well. Okay, so now we're going to look at some rules on pronunciation, and this is not only for third person singular but also for plural nouns where we would have an S at the end. So some of the words we're going to see are going to be nouns, plural nouns, and some of them are going to be the verbs within for the third person singular. Okay, so go. So the first sound is an is sound, and sibilant. This is called a sibilant in the phonetic sounds, okay, with consonants. So here we've got some consonants here. The C in races, races. The S in buses, buses. And the X in boxes, the Z in prizes, the double S in kisses, okay, the CH in watches, and the SH in dishes, dishes, okay, and the GE in changes, okay. is. Okay, so basically a sibilant sound is a hissing or buzzing sound. Okay, and we're going to have a look at that later. So the next one is the S sound, sound, which is voiceless. So here, let's have a look at some examples here. So we've got the word sleeps. So after a P, when you have an S, it's almost voiceless, sleeps. And books after K, hats, cliffs, graphs, myths. Okay, so here we've got voiced, and we've got some rules for the voiced in Z. Okay, so here you've got crabs after the B, crabs, words, bags, dreams, fans, sings, wears, gloves, plays. Okay, can you see the difference now? Okay, so you've got the letters there. So if an S is following these letters, then the sound is a voiced sound. Okay, and it's like a Z sound. Okay, so voiced sounds uses the vocal cord and produces a vibration or humming sound in the throat. Okay, so here, if we look at this diagram, here we've got all the different ways that we speak. So sometimes when we speak with our lips. For examples, the P, B. Okay, here we're bringing our lips together to make the sounds. Sometimes we're using our tongue. We're moving our tongue in certain ways to make different sounds. Okay, so in the case of is, the I and the S, the sibilant sound, here what we actually do is basically we take the tip of our tongue towards the roof of the mouth, and then we push a small amount of air through, is passed through the tongue to make that hissing sound. So the air is kind of like restricted a little bit, okay? And obviously the teeth are closed, so the teeth are also taking, pushing that air back as well. That's where we get the hissing sound. So if you try that now, you try to make that sound in the words, we're looking at the words that we were looking at. So we're trying to restrict the escape of that air, okay, coming out. So let's have a look at the words again. Race is. Okay, so if you want to pause the video and practice that, the words, the sound of the words, and just listen to yourself and how you're actually making those words. Remember, the sibilant sound is the is sound, okay, it's hissing or buzzing sound. The voiceless one is we don't need to sort of go into that, but the voiced sound uses the vocal cord and produces a vibration and a humming sound in the throat. Okay, so pause the video and practice. Okay, now that's the end of the lesson. Okay, so today, as a review, we looked at definitions, and we also looked at spelling rules and correct pronunciations. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Please leave a comment in the comment box, or let us know if everything was clear, you understood what was said, then give it a thumbs up. If you're not sure and you'd like more information or you'd like more practice, then let us know. And if it was difficult for you to understand and you need more support, you need more help, then please do let me know, and we can look at different ways of supporting you. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is to follow the next lesson, which is still part of the 5 outcomes that we looked at earlier. So today we covered outcome 1 and outcome 2. In the next lesson, we'll be looking at outcome 3. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Until next time, bye.